Hello, everybody. Welcome to SOS Big Time Show. We're talking about the UNLV football Rebels. Are they legit? Plus, is Aaron Rodgers truly back? And, of course, the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, Pete Carroll, joins the show. Let's do this thing. SOS starts right now.
Make some noise. This is Sound Off Sports, sponsored by Silver State Schools Credit Union.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sound Off Sports. Mike Davis here alongside James Edward Barrickman the fourth. James, you're in a good mood because as a resident Yinzer of this program, a kid from Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers look pretty good because Aaron Rodgers, in old form, throwing 4 touchdowns against his former team, the Jets. I want to know your initial reactions. We got some responses from the audience. You guys 702-855-3502. Make sure you always give us a buzz. We got some responses there. But before that, I got to hear what the resident Yinzer has to say about Aaron Rodgers because you weren't so thrilled heading into the season.
Well, right. My problem was never really with Aaron Rodgers. I always thought Aaron Rodgers could still play. It was not about Aaron Rodgers' talent that I was concerned about. It was whether or not Mike Tomlin and that staff could draw it up for him. Could they actually figure out offense for the first time since 2018 and put Aaron Rodgers in a place to succeed? And after one game, it looks like this marriage between Arthur Smith and Aaron Rodgers is going to work out for now. We'll see. But it was never Aaron Rodgers. I knew that guy could still play. I knew his right arm was still electric. And when you have a guy that's been in the league as long as he is, future Hall of Fame quarterback, he's forgotten more about football than me and you could ever hope to know combined.
Yeah, I mean,
and so when you take that out pre-snap onto the football field, that gives a team like the Steelers, led by a defensive head coach like Mike Tomlin, I think such a advantage.
Yeah, and the Jets look good too. This wasn't just that old Jets team that didn't look
Fields?
Good. Fields looked good.
That was probably his best game as a pro.
100%. And Rodgers, 4 touchdowns. He was spreading the ball all around the field to different receivers. I always love to see that, getting people involved. So it's going to be exciting to see what comes in these next few weeks if the Steelers could put together the defensive side of the ball along with the offensive side of the ball. This was a team not putting up 30 points or anywhere close to it for a long time. But let's hear what some people at home have to say about this, James. Let's go to our first response.
So this is Don Ortega on Facebook. He says, he's as good as the performance of the rest of the team. He will not limit the ability to win, but at this point, he will not be able to impose his will to win on the game. That is Don Ortega on Facebook.
I mean, listen, it's not Aaron Rodgers, MVP Aaron Rodgers, we remember from the Green Bay Packers, but still, this is a situation where we've seen in the NFL a quarterback with that pedigree, with that ability, that arm talent, even in the late stages of their career, they can do the Brett Favre thing. They can do the Tom Brady thing. Aaron Rodgers is not just, this isn't having an older Josh McCown come in with some experience. This is a guy.
This isn't Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Right. This is Aaron Rodgers, a guy who's won multiple MVP awards, perhaps the best quarterback after Tom Brady of the past 15 years. So,
maybe the best arm talent we've ever seen in the history of the game.
I like that he seemed juiced up. He wanted to beat that Jets team. Yeah. I like that response he had. He said he wanted to beat everybody in the organization. So I like to see it. Here's my question for you. I think, Rodgers, so much of it is about appealing to him emotionally and mentally. This is a fascinating guy. I'm curious, why do you think he bought into the Steelers as opposed to the Jets? 2 historic franchises, but I'm curious, do you think it's the presence of a Mike Tomlin?
I think that's exactly what it is. I think that's exactly what it is, point blank, period.
Because he seemed more buttoned up and more like a teammate than he did. It was more the Aaron Rodgers show in New York, whereas with the Steelers, it seemed like he understood being a part of the team, acquiescing to Arthur Smith. I think Arthur Smith is a fascinating guy. They both seem like Aaron and him would get along. They seem like the type of guys that could go off to a retreat and do ayahuasca together. That's how I feel. But I think Tomlin got him the buy-in. Is that your take on it?
1,000%. And I think you look at Rodgers' time in New York, they gave him the keys to the franchise. He had about as much power as Woody Johnson did.
Right.
They bent over backwards for him at every turn. You brought in Alan Lazard. You brought in Randall Cobb. You traded for Devontae Adams. They named Nathaniel Hackett the offensive coordinator.
Right.
They gave him anything,
and he still wasn't appreciative.
And he still wasn't happy. And so it was never going to work when you give the quarterback the most power in the room. Where I think in Pittsburgh, because of the respect he has for Mike Tomlin, he was never asking for that. Or he learned from his mistakes in New York, but he was never asking for this kind of power in Pittsburgh. So he takes a step back where he can just play quarterback. He doesn't have to play head coach. He doesn't have to play general manager because he trusts and respects what's going on around him.
Yeah.
And now you see kind of what happens after one game. He had his best, as good of a game as he's ever had in New York. And Pittsburgh's had about as big of an offensive output as they've had since Prime Big Ben, probably about 2018.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is, as we're wrapping up this block, the AFC North is going to be wide open. And it's crazy because
it's potentially a three-horse race.
I mean, we know the Ravens are legit, but the thing is, after them, even though you got the Bengals with Burrow, Higgins, and Chase, it's a mess situation. They're not to the level of a full organization defensively as well as the Steelers.
Look good week one.
And then, I mean, the Browns, we know about the Browns. So, I mean,
you just never know.
You just never know. And if you have the defense working at a high rate and you add in the mix of an Aaron Rodgers who demonstrates what Aaron Rodgers can do, could be scary times for that AFC North, and we'll see what happens there. Guys, coming up after a short break, we're talking to the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. He appeared on our news show, The Coach's Cut, with Mike Tice and myself. We're going to hear what Pete Carroll has to say about this year's Raiders. Coming up after a short break. All right, welcome back to Sound Off Sports. Okay, so very exciting. We have a brand new show here on Fox 5 and the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. It's called The Coach's Cut. It's myself and former Minnesota Vikings head coach Mike Tice. We're breaking down everything in the NFL as well as the Raiders, and we have a lot of coaches join the show as well. This time we got Pete Carroll, the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Take a look.
I'm excited to hear, besides the obvious ones, who you think your Jimmys and Joes are for the Raiders in 2025. And I made a little note down here, sleepers are allowed. You're allowed to talk about some sleepers.
Well, we have really clear leadership on this club, and we're very fortunate to have that because sometimes you don't. I've never given up because we don't have good leadership. I always make the coaches take the role over as the leaders until the players do. But with Gino coming in and with Max as part of this program and the background of it, we have just voices that are, you couldn't ask for more. I mean, these guys are the hardest working guys in the program. They lead on their team by the way they work and their actions and their activity of it. And then they can follow it up and back it up, and they can demand it of those around them. And so those guys are just so crucial to keeping the mentality in line and all that. But that's not all. We've got some great competitors on this team, and the guys that we've been able to put together on the defensive side of the ball, Landon Roberts and Devin White and Jamal Adams and Pratt, and Jermaine brings it too. Those guys are all kind of uniquely old school, gifted with what the game's all about. There's a younger generation to them too, that with Jeremy Chin and what Isaiah brings, and we've got a real way about us that we can build from. And it often you don't have that so clearly and intact. And I'm really pumped about that, to make sure that those guys are always at the front line. And Colton Miller, in the time I've been here, has become a tremendous leader in the offensive line. And the attitude, that our guys bring. Jordan Meredith is just a grinder, and Dale Parham, and also the toughness that JPJ brings. So those guys, they're tempo setters, and they set the standards for how hard we work and how tough we are and how far we want to take it. Because we're trying to walk the freaking line, man. We're trying to take it as far as we can in every aspect of what we're doing. And to do that, you have to be willing, to get out there where it's not comfortable sometimes, and we have to operate that way. I've been thrilled by the closeness of our games in preseason, even the mock game. Came down to the last play. It's given me real opportunities for teachable moments to capture the mentality that it takes to finish really well. and to be a team that believes and knows that you can win on the last play of the game, and that's why there ain't no time to give it up. Right? It ain't ever over, and so it's been really a thrill with these guys. And we have some young guys too. The draft class brings us some guys that are gonna be a factor in here too. I'm excited about both the offensive linemen and the couple defensive linemen that we brought in. Those guys are all going to be in the rotations, and have a chance to play. It's a little bit harder for us to rotate on the offensive side of the ball, but Charles has done a nice job. Caleb Rogers has done a nice job too, battling day in and day out. And so those are some of the guys that have come. Another guy to mention to you is Ian Thomas has done a really, really good job at tight end. And where we already have two terrific players, Ian has really added, to make that position about as strong as any position in the NFL could be. So we have some real strengths to build on.
Yeah, I love it. I was going to ask you what you're most fired up about with my last question, but you already hit on it. But what do you guys think? What do you think coming out of the blocks you're going to be good at? So I'll change that last question. What do you think
I got you.
blocks you're going to be good at?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to be well equipped to play the running game on the defensive side. We made a big commitment to base defense and the concepts that it takes to secure the line of scrimmage and not get run around on, and so that's an important part of our makeup. There's no question if we protect Geno, he's going to throw the football, and so we've worked hard at our protections. We've worked hard at blitz pickups and all of that stuff that allows him to be clean in the pocket. When he's clean, he'll rip you up now. He ain't gonna miss very many balls, and so he makes great decisions, and he's got a great arm, and he's got terrific background and sense. So we're going to be able to throw the ball well. What will make the difference in this football team was our ability to run the ball. I think our ability to run the football and be a threat and keep us well-rounded as a football team will come from the work of those the guys up front. We've really been pleased with Genty. He's done great and been physical and tough. We've seen the elusive and all that, but to see him be so tough, game in and game out here when he gets his chances.
All right, to catch the full interview with Pete Carroll, just go to our YouTube page, Silver State Sports.
You're watching Sound Off Sports, sponsored by Silver State Schools Credit Union.
Can UNLV football finish the season undefeated? Ronnie Escalante on Facebook says, with the exception of the Boise game, they should be favored in the rest of their remaining schedule.
All right, welcome back to Sound Off Sports. Mike Davis here alongside James Edward Barrickman IV. UNLV football doing good work. Dan Mullen, new head coach, 3-0. They just beat UCLA. We asked everybody at home whether UNLV football can go undefeated, whether they can make the playoff, whether they are legit. Let's hear our first response.
Don Miller on Facebook, he says, they're at Boise, not good for UNLV. They gave up 23 points to an FCS team, winning only by 7. They played a bad 0-3 Sam Houston team and won. They beat UCLA by only 7, and the Bruins are not so good early on. UNLV may be 3-0, but they haven't played a good one yet. Pretty hard to favor them against Wyoming at 7,000 feet, the running attack of Air Force, and then ever tough Boise State on the road. UNLV has suffered 0 wins and 6 losses historically against Boise State. We'll see. They have never won a game at Boise State, UNLV.
Wow. Very good response there.
Yeah,
as always,
thank you,
make
Don
sure you are going to our YouTube page, our Facebook, Instagram, X, all that stuff. Give us a call, 702-855-3502. We always love to hear from you. So, James, interesting stuff. It's good that the team's 3-0 right now.
Yeah, carrying that momentum from the Barry Odom era
100%
into the Dan Mullen era. This is good.
We didn't know that was going to happen, but it did happen, and it looks like Dan Mullen's the right guy for the job. Anthony Calandria playing well, not making a lot of mistakes, doing a good job at quarterback.
Calandria.
He's
Big fan.
Transfer from UVA.
Go Who's.
Playing well. Alex Orji, though, is out.
That's so brutal.
Kid from
Huge
Michigan.
loss. Yeah.
He was a rushing kind of dual threat quarterback, but Calandria is really the guy. You know the college football landscape better than I do. When you start looking at the college football playoff and where we are right now in terms of conference play, all that stuff, do you really feel in your heart of all hearts, James, when you dig deep, do you think UNLV can actually get to that playoff spot? Would it be the biggest surprise on earth if that happened to you, or is it something very likely and possible and realistic?
No, absolutely not. And I think now that they've gotten past that UCLA game against a Big Ten opponent, they're going to be favored in the rest of their games outside of at Boise State. So their schedule from here on out is pretty weak. I think a loss to any of these teams remaining on their schedule outside of at Boise
would be a
disappointment.
Okay, so Boise is the one that you got to circle on the calendar. But
I'll say this, because yes, their schedule is weak. So they, and looking at these other teams, especially in the American Conference, that are going to be contending for that G6 playoff spot, UNLV is probably going to have to run the table the rest of the way.
And that's just how
even if they do win the Mountain
West. And that's just how it works in the conference play of college football. If you have a weaker schedule, a weaker conference, you got to run the table. That's just how it works.
Well, I'm just looking at, like, you look at a team like USF, right? They've dominated Boise in week 0 at USF. They turn right back around and they go to Florida and win. Now they're taking on your Miami Hurricanes. If they win that game, they might get an at-large bid. So I'm just looking at the other, G6 conference teams. The Americans loaded. You have USF, probably the favorite right now to claim that G6 playoff spot. Tulane, Memphis, Navy.
Right.
All teams that were kind of being thrown around to get that G6 playoff spot. The other one, Boise and UNLV, but Boise, after getting smoked week 0, kind of took a back seat.
Right.
The good news for UNLV, while USF is currently the leader in the clubhouse, all these teams are in the same conference. They're going to play each other.
And their record's going to get dinged up.
So what UNLV has to hope for is that USF, Tulane, Memphis, and Navy kind of beat each other up.
Right.
So that if UNLV does hopefully run the table or maybe win the Mountain West with one loss, they still get that spot in the playoff.
This is where I love having a guy like Dan Mullen, who has the experience of coaching at a Mississippi State, coaching at a Florida, having that SEC pedigree. They don't get scared of playing a UCLA. He's done this before. He's done matchups with much bigger programs with bigger endowments than UCLA when it comes to football. Let me ask you this, because I think the people at home, I'm putting myself in their shoes, and I think this is the question on a lot of people's minds. The difference between Barry Odom's Rebels and Dan Mullen's Rebels. What's the biggest difference you've seen thus far in the first 3 games, and how are they better positioned with Dan Mullen to make a college football playoff run?
That's a great question. I think just looking at the teams themselves, and I'll speak for Barry Odom's team last year. That team was so buttoned up. You got the same team every single week. There were no letdown spots. You knew what you were going to get out of that team, and they were going to play the same way every single week, regardless if they were playing, Syracuse or Boise, or if they were playing Idaho State. You're getting the same team every week. Where I think year 1 of Dan Mullen, the team's not quite as buttoned up.
You saw the new players. It's a major different roster.
Right, and I think when you think about it that way, they have so many transfers coming in. And they struggled against Idaho State, but won. And yes, Sam Houston kind of made a run in that week 1 game, but UNLV hung on and won. UCLA, after being down 17-0, stormed back, but UNLV hung on and won.
Right.
So they have faced adversity in all 3 of their games so far. So I think there is something to be said for a team that goes through all of that, but finds ways to win.
Yeah.
So and to finish that question, I think where Barry Odom was trying to get out of here after 2 seasons, we saw that with his move to Purdue, and that's no slight to Barry Odom. Like, you're going to take that Big Ten money. I think Dan Mullen might have a little bit better grasp and understanding and want to of what UNLV can be years down the line, now that players are able to be compensated for their efforts in a city like Las Vegas.
And a lot of it is because Mullen already has had that recognition of being the top guy at an SEC program like Florida Gators, like Mississippi State. So maybe this is more of a long-term outlook for him, which is a good thing. Guys, coming up after a short break, we got more SOS. It's time for Sink or Swim.
Can UNLV football finish the season undefeated? Mark Pace on Facebook says, at Wyoming, at Boise, and CSU, Mountain West Conference road games in the Rockies have not been kind to my Rebels, but maybe this year.
All right, welcome back to Sound Off Sports. Mike Davis, James Everett Barrickman IV. It's time for Sink or Swim. We got to talk Spitgate, James, and what I'm talking about is...
That's your man's right there.
It's my man's. Jalen Carter, defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, spits on Dak Prescott pregame, and of course, you know, it gets turned into a massive thing. He ends up getting ejected for the entire game. Good thing, not a suspension for him long term. It's just that one game, and he's fined about $57,000. But the crazy thing is the secondary video that came out afterwards that shows Dak Prescott instigated. And
what a savvy vet move from Dak. I love that from
Is
Dak.
that what that is?
I think so, yeah.
See, I hate it because the thing is, listen, do I not like the Cowboys? Of course I don't like the Cowboys. As a kid from Philadelphia, as an Eagles fan, what can I do? What can I say? I'm an honest guy. I don't like them. But Dak was never he was never the guy that I really disliked. The problem is now this is the dude on the Lowe's commercials. He's the guy on the Campbell Soup commercials. And now he's spitting and egging a guy on like that, and it's just like,
he did nothing to break the rules.
He spit first.
He spit on the ground. Yes, in his direction.
So you
and
think
then
it was
gave
all,
him that?
It was
he gave him that smile at the end. I didn't think Dak had that in him, but what a move from Dak.
So you like it more now.
To bait Jalen Carter into doing something dumb and getting tossed from the game before he even played a snap.
I cannot wait for Jalen Carter to get his hands on Dak Prescott next time they face this season, because he's going to take him down and it's going to hurt. And it's not going to be about spit. It's going to be about cracking some clavicles, and that's what I hope to see. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. 702-855-3502. Make sure you always give us a buzz. For James, I'm Mike Davis, editor Jess. We'll see you next time here in the Den for Sound Off Sports.